Hi, welcome to another devlog for a AAA simulator. You might be wondering why a devlog is claiming to help artists find work. Well, the first reason is that I myself have been a freelancer for over a decade, mostly in the game space, although I'm mainly a writer and not an artist. The second reason is that I recently tried to find an artist to do my Steam Capsules, and I noticed a lot of things artists can do to increase their visibility in the space. Now, I admit it's possible I was looking in the wrong places, but I am a game developer looking to pay money for a service. That means wherever I look is another place that an artist can be seen. So I'm going to tell you where I looked and why, and we can reverse engineer some tips. Or if you're a solo dev on a limited budget like me, you can see the successes and pitfalls of the process for yourself. The reason I was looking for an artist in the first place is because of some advice from Chris Zukowski from howtomarketagame.com. And that's already one reason I trust him. His website name is Excellent SEO. If I want to know how to market a game, I'm going to search how to market a game, and his site will be the first result. And in fact, that's my first tip. If you want to specialize in Steam Capsules, name your website or social media profile something like Steam Capsule Artist. There's only like one person doing this right now that I know of, and since they kept showing up everywhere I searched, I actually reached out to them. It didn't work out in the end, but we'll get to that later. As good as his SEO is, I didn't actually find Chris through a search. He's also all over YouTube giving out great advice for free on game dev channels that I already watch. That's the other reason I know he's good at marketing. So I trust him when he says things like, don't try to do your Steam Capsule yourself, get it done professionally. Now the only question is, how do I find those professionals? Well, How to Market a Game also has a Discord, and that Discord has a job board. This is the perfect place to find other people who understand my exact point of view on Steam Capsules. And there are artists who display their wares there. One of them even looked great, but I unfortunately couldn't afford their services. And another seemed promising, but after some chatting, there was no way I could really verify their skill. So tip number 2, make it easy for me to find your portfolio and make me believe that you didn't steal the art from somewhere else. This could mean that when I contact you, you can hold a conversation about visual design or be willing to sketch up a very rough idea for free. I don't want to ask anyone to work for free, but I need samples to make an informed decision. If your portfolio is thin, make some new pieces for games that don't exist. Since I was already looking at portfolios, I also tried to look around DeviantArt and ArtStation, but there are surprisingly few people who have tagged their art as Steam Capsule art. This was the start of a trend for the rest of my search. Only a handful of artists are making use of this niche, and I don't know why. It's a good way to break into the game industry. So the next thing I did was ask the internet where to find a Steam Capsule artist. What I was looking for was a Reddit thread. You know, real people to give advice in these days of the dead internet. And I did find threads where artists replied, and I looked through their work. And I have to tell you that there's really only one person out there replying and branding themselves as a true Steam Capsule artist again. The others are amateur 2D artists who replied to the Reddit posts with their portfolios, but their work wasn't quite relevant. It would have been very simple for them to just add one piece of Steam Capsule art and make the sale. I contacted the self-proclaimed Steam Capsule artist from Reddit, and things seemed promising, but the communication didn't really go smoothly. They seemed busy, and I decided to move on. Since I mentioned seeking the advice of real people, you might be wondering about social media. Years ago, I actually did hire someone I found on Twitter for a game called Running of the Dead, but I haven't used Twitter for years. It's honestly a UI designed for hate, and I can't just pop on after all this time with no connections and find a high-quality artist. So Twitter was out. Some people like Pirate Software have praise for Blue Sky, but I can't see any discernible difference between the Blue Sky UI and Twitter, so I'm staying away for now. At this point, the elephant in the room is LinkedIn. It's a job site after all, right? Well, no, it absolutely isn't. I will admit I found a job with an indie studio there once, but I think anyone who was laid off from 2023 to 24 can tell you it's gotten noticeably worse. Their job search functions have never been that great, and why would they be? If you're happily employed, you're not using LinkedIn every day. It isn't a social media site. There's nothing social about it. It's a completely synthetic corporate culture manufactured by Microsoft, and the sheer volume of corporate shills you'll interact with, spewing their toxic positivity cubicle speak, make that painfully obvious. No, LinkedIn is an app with literal slot machine mechanics, but you don't win money, you win false hope. It preys on people who are newly laid off and gets them addicted to scrolling for jobs when they could be getting back to living their lives. Okay, that was a tangent. Sorry about that. So anyway, LinkedIn was off my list. So were job boards. Work with indies is great, but I was looking for a one-time art commission. I'm a little too small time for a job board like that. In contrast, somewhere like IndieDB was a little too amateur for me. I knew from the Reddit threads and past experience that I would have to sift through and reject a lot of artists that just weren't quite at the level I needed yet. That's the same reason I didn't post on a Discord job board. So, unfortunately, I was left with freelancing sites. It was my last resort because I'm really not a fan of the gig economy. Sites like Upwork and Fiverr seem to be there to exploit the arbitrary fact that US dollars are more valuable in places like Vietnam, and I think freelancers should be paid more no matter where they are in the world. Upwork is also the wrong format for a Steam capsule. Their rates are hourly, and nobody, let alone a skilled freelancer, should have to work hourly. So it was down to Fiverr. I immediately filtered out everything that was too cheap. I didn't misspeak there. I had a budget of around 500 USD for this job, and I know that isn't a lot, but I wasn't going to pay less than an artist deserved. Definitely not the 20 or 50 bucks that a lot of listings advertise. And they seem dubious at best. But yet again, there are only a couple people on Fiverr who are offering Steam capsules in my budget range. And I talked to them, and as always, I didn't have a great time communicating with them. On the other hand, Fiverr is absolutely filled with people who create logos. At this point, I was starting to realize that I could use part of my budget to get a logo, and then find a separate artist for the capsules. See, what I need for Steam are basically 4 capsules. The main, the header, the small, and the vertical. These all show up in various places on the storefront, but what they all have in common is a logo. I was also planning to work on a graphic for my in-game shareholders feature, and I thought the scene might work for these capsules. So I looked for a logo artist, and after a few more conversations, I finally found Arthur. Arthur was the first artist I talked to who seemed even the least bit professional and happy to talk to me. That was really all it took. He was hired. So tip number 3. Be professional and make the sale. Throughout this whole process, I was so close to hiring an artist who just failed to make me believe they could do the job. I can tell when you don't care, and I really do care, so at least fake it. If I try to talk to you about my design, I'm probing your ability to design something that will work for me. Seriously, all you really need to do is make me think you're not scamming me, and the sale is basically done. And Arthur did a great job at that and at making the logo. After a few iterations, we got something that says, this is a tycoon game, and there's some irony involved with the graph's arrow ending on a downturn, but it's not goofy. It encapsulates the game perfectly for me. So, how do you get gigs as a Steam capsule artist? Well, make a portfolio, tag your online presence with the words Steam capsule artist, or indeed whatever niche you want to target, and don't seem lazy, disinterested, or scammy when talking to potential clients. That's all it takes. Now, all that being said, you might have noticed I never did find an actual capsule artist. That's true, but I've subbed in my own artwork and I think the capsules look okay right now. I'm still thinking about upgrading them with the help of an artist, but what do you think? Maybe if you're a real artist, you can give me some tips. Or better yet, offer your services, because I'm still looking. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.